We're going to start this roundtable on high sectors linked to this Meta Week forum. I want to thank you, obviously, for connecting. I'm completely sure that this is going to be an inspiring session. We have four exceptional participants with great experience, and above all, in sectors that are disruptive, totally disruptive. I would like to thank my colleagues at Escame for this opportunity, my colleagues from the Association of Mediterranean Chambers of Commerce at Escame has been organizing this prestigious forum for 14 years. If you haven't done so already, I would uh, recommend you signing up for other sessions. And if we have the opportunity to organize this forum again in person, I hope you can participate because it's a forum which is quite interesting, both institutionally, in terms of the, and also because of the frontline companies it brings together from Europe and the Mediterranean. So why did we decide to organize this roundtable? I just want to give you a bit of data. The European Found Data Recovery Fund means there'll be approximately 100 billion euros injected into Spain through transfers and loans. That's practically equivalent of 11% of the GDP. About 100 billion will be non-repayable transfers. These funds, the funds allocated for energy transition and health policy, correspond to approximately 45 and 50% of the total. In this session, we're going to talk precisely about these sectors and about the very promising future that these um, sectors and the companies are going to have, and above all, about the um, advice and recommendations given to us by the companies that participate in this event. I would like to tell all participants that you have the option of asking questions through the chat, and they will be responded to at the end of the session. Okay, well, if you don't mind, I will now introduce you to the first of I would like to introduce Manel Quero. Manel Quero is the director of uh, development for Iliada A Plus. For those of you who don't know, it's an engineering, a global engineering firm that works in the automobile industry with more than 30 years experience, and it's quite focused on the development, testing, design, and certification of vehicles. It's a multinational, although it's a Catalan company. It has 2,500 professionals. It has an international network of 22 affiliates, and you're working with practically all the major frontline providers worldwide. With Manel, we've gone to India, Russia, China, and the fact that we could recount a whole bunch of anecdotes, but I would highlight two variables, two attitudes from Manel that set him apart from many business developers. One is his radar is always on in terms of opportunity. That's a quality. And a second quality he has is that above all, his adaptation uh, of the sales pitch that he has for each of his interlocutors. I've learned a lot through this, and I saw how he modified his pitch or how he adapted it when we were dealing with uh, and when we were talking to a city council in Samara or somewhere else in China. Well, Manel, tell us what you're working on. All right, Josep Maria, you've given um, a brief overview of Vienna, which is part of our group, which is much larger group. It's an engineering partner for the automobile sector, which offers complete solutions for partners worldwide. Vehicle manufacturers and component manufacturers. We have 2,500 people throughout the world. We have first level facilities engineering wise in Barcelona and Tarragona and in other parts of the world. We are present in 24 countries. One of the characteristics of EVI is that it is our constant capacity to innovate, and we work with all the engineering tools that engineers use, CAD testing, project management to carry out these projects. We were born in 1971 out of the university. I've been with Indiana for about 20 years, but it had been formed 10 years. In 1990, there was a privatization of India because initially it was a public sector company, and now it's part of Optus. 80% is owned and 20% is public capital. Uh, Optus is a testing and inspection company, 23,000 people throughout the world in 70 countries. It's a country that's traded on the Spanish stock exchange, and the amount that we could say is practically 15% Optus. Going back to Indiana, in the last 5 years, we've been growing at around 5%. Last year, we invoiced 2.4 billion euros, and this year will be complicated, but we're moving forward. We're present throughout the world in Brazil, in China, in the Czech Republic, in Germany, in India, in the UK, in the United States, in Spain. We also have facilities. These are companies, but we also have commercial offices and certification offices in Bangkok, in Italy, in Istanbul, in Japan, in Paris, in Russia, in Seoul, South. To define idea that our core business is vehicle engineering, but we also develop for our clients. That's our core business, but we also develop testing facilities. We have so much knowledge about vehicle testing that we could also set up testing facilities. And some of them, for example, the testing facilities in China, our customer asked us to run it, and I'll show you that later. Our technology is based, or our knowledge is based on principal functionalities of the vehicle, uh, active and passive safety, powertrain, comfort, the durability of the vehicles. In order to do this, 50% of our engineers are devoted to pure engineering and the other 50% to testing. So what do we do in terms of engineering? The uh, development of vehicle body structures, aerodynamics. We do crash testing, which is passive security, the airbag, the protection of the vehicle when the vehicle is subject to impact. active security, which is all vehicle stabilization systems, powertrain, the uh, because initially they were um, traditional uh, um, motors. Now we're thinking about using hydrogen combustion cells. We, we work extensively with electronics. Electronics is really on a high. I'll mention this, but electronics are present throughout the vehicles. And we work on this. We work with advanced driving assistance systems, smart mobility. We work with reliability, which is uh, uh, durability. Vehicles are being designed not for 1, 2, or 3 years, but various years for a couple of years. Basically, all of this is what we usually offer our clients: a high level of project management and integration of in engineering, design, electronics, testing, design based on the vehicle functionalities, a profound taking into account of all the vehicle needs, all the vehicle functionalities, and lastly, an international presence which is extensive. That's what EVIADA is. Thank you so much, my man, for that explanation. And now we're going to speak to the next speaker, Dr. Alberto Perez, who is the director of SUSPRO, which is a engineering consulting company which works in practically all areas in terms of renewable energy, biomass, solar, etc. From my perspective, and unlike other consulting firms or engineering firms, what Alberto Sustro is offering is practically a comprehensive project and a knowledge of this mm, entire scope of renewable energy. Alberto, I think you've been involved in renewable energy more out of conviction, at least based on what you told me when we were speaking. That's what you've transmitted to me. You have some very profound conviction, more than a vote or fashion. This is conviction in your case. I'm sure you believe that renewable energy is the future, and you guarantee, and that they guarantee sustainable growth, which we've all wished for. Introduce us to your company and transmit this passion that you feel. Thank you. I like that introduction. It's it's true that I don't know you as well as you know Manel, but it's true that when you talk to me about that conviction, that passion for renewable energy, I think that's something that since I turned 17, um, if memory serves, I had that interest in renewable energy, that motivation to see what we were doing. And the problem with fossil fuels, the interpreter, this is but this sound not good. So I already had that interest and that conviction, and when I discussed it with people in school and university, sometimes you find people who don't believe in renewable energy because they say, well, in an ideal world, this would function, but in a real world, we need nuclear energy. So I set up a micro, um, small and medium sized company along with a British company, and the objective of Suspro is to increase sustainability in our society. That's our main objective. Manel talked about 2,500 employees. There are 10 of us between the partners, workers, and collaborators. Our focus, as you mentioned, is to provide consulting services, engineering services, also project development, and also research. So, for example, consulting and engineering work is centered on um, viability studies, renewable energy, number modeling, and recently, in the last year, we've worked on multilateral projects. For example, working with the Asian Development Bank and also with ELENA. And at the same time, that's what provides us our daily income. You know, another thing we're doing is developing projects in Spain and solar energy and storage. Those projects are being developed along with a partner of ours, which in Spain, which is called FC Energy. And then, lastly, where do the founding partners of Swissquote come from? We met at the Edinburgh University during our doctoral studies, and we have an interest, that action to research and at Swissquote as much as possible. Given our side and capacity, we tried to do research a few years ago. We uh, now now our situation is that we have various ideas, various proposals, and we have to decide which one we want to move forward on. Right now, knowing that energy storage is going to be key, one of the ideas we're thinking about is energy storage. Other issue that interests us is sustainability in building. I think that gives you a brief sketch, a brief overview of my company. Thank you. Later we'll go into greater detail. Sometimes we have a connection. Perhaps the next time we contact with you, perhaps you could turn off your camera because there were some points in which your signal was interrupted. The next speaker is a doctor, but she has a business DNA. Her name is Lourdes. She's director of Ventura Medical. Ventura Medical is a stock company focused on medical technology, which develops uh, its own product line, which I think is known, which is which they have been developing and marketing for years in various countries, but also uh, uh, Ventura America is a, a collaborator. It supports those companies that want to develop part of their medical devices. They can provide all their knowledge, their structure within their engineering. So I've learned from much from you about what diversification means because you also came from a sector which is a very powerful industrial sector, which was the automobile sector, and how the spin-off, this startup, which is now fully consolidated, began to work in this glamorous sector, which is that of medical technology. But it's quite demanding sector, and very slow. It's not easy to market a product. And if you make a mistake, you pay dearly for it. If you deviate from quality, Lourdes, would you like to give us a brief introduction to Ventura? Because the fact is you're a unique case, and whenever I've had the opportunity, we've been in Dusseldorf at the medical convention with an exhibition, but when I've traveled and accompanied other companies, I've always cited you as an example. I would like you to provide a presentation to the company. They will go into greater detail about what the opportunities and difficulties of this sector are. Okay, good afternoon, and thank you for having thought of us and organizing this. I'm always appreciative for your special affection. We are not unique in this sector, but we earnestly are committed to moving forward. Let me give you an overview of the company. Ventura Medical Technology is a company that was created in 2010 based on a process of diversification of Ventura, which is a Catalan family company working in the automobile sector. And Ventura uh, had uh, international capacity since we had affiliates in the U.S. and China, and we have a wide commercial structure which allows our products being distributed worldwide. In 2018, we carried out a strategic plan, and given our know-how and our technical competencies, we decided to stake out other sectors, and specifically in this case, the medical. As you may know, in the automobile sector, the area of research and development is not very wide ranging. We are subject to the demands of multinational companies. So we created Ventura Medical Technologies, which got involved in various research and development projects in biomedical field. We work with hospitals and universities where there is innovation and the desire to transfer innovation. Since our starting, we've participated in various projects and presented the ideas and proposals of professionals who work in innovation. We are available to individuals who want companies who can develop their products. This is a very enriching environment, and very interesting projects can emerge. And we've developed some of these products. We also visit these sectors to offer our innovative services, and we want to um, take these products to the market, and we've done so with a relative degree of success. We don't start to uh, jointly develop a product that won't be accepted by the market. The projects that have these characteristics are carefully studied. We do technology transfer between the institution where the professional worked, and we develop the product together. Uh, What's also very important for us is the support and knowledge offered to us by public institutions. One is the Chamber of Commerce, and Giuseppe Maria has also been a great source of support for us in order to for us to adapt and have other possibilities to expand our product line into other countries. And also the Ministry of Health, the Medical Association, all of these associations are very important for us when expanding our perspective. And to conclude, Let me give you some example of medical devices we've developed. For example, in thoracic surgery, a, a thoracic implant, as Maria mentioned, for for a sunken chest, which is called petroescavatum. We are also marketing in Europe and in Latin America. We're reaching agreements with Morocco, Saudi Arabia, and expanding our commercial reach in this sense. We're also working in urology, eye, ear, nose, and throat. Our cooperation with public uh, health centers and coming up with these technology transfer agreements is an incentive for both parties to grow and to put an innovative product on the market. Otherwise, it would be very complicated. That's what I wanted to mention to you. And perhaps I could mention to you that Ventura America was created to be the research and development side for PV Ventura automobile parts. And we work very closely with the um, car and research section, but we focus on the medical side. We um, we take care of the market. And that would be a good overview. You've given us a good image of what Ventura is. We had another speaker, Eduardo Romea, unfortunately was unable to connect. Um, Perhaps during the session you'll be able to connect, and we would try that. But now we were talking about vehicles, electric mobility. The electric car will be the basis for the future, and Indiana are working on this sector. And you said this is an enormous area for work where you're quite present along with the major engineering and decision-making uh, sectors of the large um, companies. And I had two questions for you. What motivated this? Why did you decide to commit to this path? Uh, and secondly, do you know that in your Mediterranean area, most great majority of companies, we're talking about medium and small sized companies in the automobile industry, do you believe these companies can have the opportunity to diversify for this sector, electric mobility? And can Indiana provide us with some advice or recommendations? Let me respond with a question, which would be the preamble for all my explanation. You know, Edward Hillary went up uh, Everest, and the press asked him why, and you know what he responded? Because it was there, and that's what we say. Our clients are there. We are where our clients are. We're practically throughout the world because our customers are throughout the world. Our customers are not just the vehicle manufacturer, but also design. We've been going to Mexico, but we weren't in Mexico because in Mexico there was an industry which principally was a producer, not a developer. So we didn't have the opportunity up to now. And now Mexico, as part of the free trade agreement, the US Mexico Canada agreement, they began to develop, and so we're present there now. That means that in any place throughout the world, where a vehicle is being developed, we try to be present because we are development partners. We started practically 15 years working with electric vehicles because our clients began to ask us for things, and we had to carry out a major internal transformation. Ideana was basically a mechanical company, and we began to see things related more than with the Newtons or the power of a conventional motor, have more having to do with volts and amperes. So we've been working with hybrid vehicles and electric vehicles for 15 years now. We saw that we had a few um, sectors where we were lacking, and we tried to cover them up because our projects were internally financed in order to make up for these deficits. iShare is a vehicle which has been designed from A to Z, um, which is for car sharing. And we have a high feature sporting vehicle, and we managed to cover up for various gaps there. And we began to be able to participate in our clients' uh, development project when we had all this, because a electric vehicle is the same as any other, but the powertrain is different. Well, now we are um, designing a hydrogen cell vehicle and an autonomous vehicle that rides through the Idiada facilities without a driver. Idiada is very clear on recent investments are devoted to electric vehicles, connected vehicles, and autonomous vehicles. I don't know if I've responded to your question as to why we are working with electric vehicles. Then I could perhaps move to the second point. I think you've explained that very clearly. This second, what opportunities are offered to companies in the North Mediterranean, the South Mediterranean, Algeria, Egypt, Morocco, Italy, Spain, Turkey, etc. Above all, offers many opportunities in what now is a common denominator. Everything having to do with the electronic, electric mobility. Many concepts are being mentioned when people talk about vehicles that were mentioned before: big data, artificial intelligence, cyber security, vehicle to vehicle um, communications, hardware, software, hardware, software in the loop, 5G technology, battery chargers, ion lithium batteries, 4.0 industry fuel cells. All of these concepts that 10 years were practically are now being heard quite a lot. And any electric software company can carry out a transformation, just like Ventura Medical. Uh, Ventura went from the automobile sector to the medical sector. The same can be done by a company from the electronic sector to the automobile. If they want to do that, the other will always be present to help them. We've been talking just about electronic companies and mechanical companies because the electric sector is not just the vehicle, but all the entire infrastructure that makes it up. We're talking about um, freight companies. You're right. The mechanic sector, eh, many of are in the automobile sector. And that's how it was. But all of these concepts that I mentioned before open a new dimension. For example, the logistic companies. The other day, I was talking with a company that helps logistic companies with artificial intelligence to be able to out to select the ideal based on a series of constraints, which are the loading points, the places where they have to leave off packages, how many vehicles they have available, what are the available routes. All of these companies, what's important is for them to make the technological leap to technology 4.0. That's what's at stake. Let's say a screw company which may uh, sell um, millions of screws instead of making steel screws, it should make titanium screws. That wouldn't be the first such case. Well, thank you very much. This is a fascinating sector that I would like to delve into more. On that note, we're talking about the fact that companies like Repsol, uh, IPSA, these this year are making extraordinary investments, very investments in the sector, which is the antithesis of the sector that they were involved in traditionally, and it's the sector of renewable energy. It would seem that this is something that they're taking seriously, and I would like you, from your experience, your 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 perspective, you answered two questions. The first, I think you answered in the first sector what I intuit, which is this this motivation for you to get involved in renewable energy. And what are all these opportunities that the sector can offer? I know it's a very generic question because renewable energy, there's a tremendous chain value when we're talking about the automobile industry. But if you could concisely state what opportunities might be available, not just for Spanish and Catalan companies, but all for all these companies throughout the Mediterranean who might be among our participants. I'm going to disconnect the video. I think sound is more important than the image. No, keep the video on. Maintain the video on, please. If if it gets cut off, just let me know. I think I mentioned this before. I think that sorry, we cannot interpret this. When they see that um, self-consumption is increasing because when people are consuming in their house, then the electric companies realize they won't sell as much electricity. We need to point out, I think in 2007, 2008, here in Spain, there was a boom uh, of photovoltaic cells that was it became sort of a bubble, and For 25 years, the Spanish government was offering a rate of 420 euros per megawatt. When price uh, and this bubble exploded. 10 years ago, it was 420 euros per megawatt hour. Now we're seeing prices in Spain. We're talking about 30 uh, uh, euros per megawatt, or which we can obtain with the same technology. The renewable energy numbers tell themselves. So we're seeing that uh, companies are seeing a quite attractive level of profitability. So one point would be to get 100% of renewable energy. International Energy Association estimates that by 2025, energy by renewable energy will be the largest source of energy generated. That's a very interesting point. We must consider that in the energy sector, introducing just renewables into the system won't, can't work because except for certain renewable energies, there are specific uh, characteristics. For example, wind and sun are intermittent. We don't know exactly when we're going to have them. We don't know if this year is going to be good for wind and sun. So it's important for this opportunity that exists in this sector linked to an opportunity for energy storage and energy storage. We now have electric batteries. People talking about combining uh, electric energy for cars as a possible source for storage. For example, what now is becoming in coming into is the Green New Deal with the motivation of why not get involved into this sector. The second question was the future and the opportunities for different companies in the region. Let's take the case of Spain. Now, mention is being made of Spain being a future energy hub where we have good wind and solar resources. Perhaps we need to progress in storage, but these that exist in Spain exist practically throughout the entire Mediterranean. Whether you want it, it has similar solar sources, and so does green, and let's not forget North Africa. So they're major resources here. They can be advantage of nationally. And the question is, how can a company take advantage of this? Since I'm not an expert on that, I would say that at our level, as a small, medium-sized company, what opportunities we've seen and how we've tried to take advantage of the opportunity in order to engage. So you don't need a great investment. Aside from knowledge, you need capital. So that's why we associate it with other um, entrepreneurs to move forward together and distribute risk. If we had to build a solar plant or a wind farm, then you need to have a strong um, SME that can make talking about um, um, wind turbines or photovoltaic manufacturers. These companies have been on the scene for many years. I don't know. I've responded to your question. Federal fiscal, in my understanding, is present throughout the entire value chain for each of the renewable sources of energy. You're present from the viability study phase, practically through manufacturing, but the design, development, or the planning of a solar garden. Yes, we would do everything from the design, viability study, the tendency, but there comes a point which would be the construction where we don't get involved. We're too small. What we can do is the management of the construction process. Investors prefer not to do see into that, but rather outsource that. But you could be a partner or investor to establish the a certain specific renewable energy project. That's quite interesting. There are not so many companies that can cover that part of the value chain with all the renewable energy sources that exist. Thank you very much because this is very interesting. Lourdes, hi. We know that what motivated Ventura to enter the medical technology sector. Give us a little more explanation. Let's provide it with um, value because the fact that you work in a complex sector which requires, I'm sure, help um, Ventura. We know this enormous sector, but what we also saw in Medicare is, do you think this is an adequate sector for um, for the Mediterranean? I mean, it's not usually our principal sector. Well, as you say, in in automobiles, you have to have zero defects. No defect is acceptable with a car because we work on brakes a lot, and safety is key here. Our clients help us to ensure that this quality system is exceptional. The subject that motivated us to move into medical technology is because the medical sector is constantly innovating and growing. By my experience, and as a doctor who worked for more than 30 years in terms of seeing patients, but also innovation, uh, all the people in the medical field, nurses, all types of professionals are constantly innovating both in terms of diagnostics, in treatment, and let them see that with COVID, and also in terms of new technology. Uh, these ideas need to be valued industrially in order to generate a business opportunity, as you also said in your presentation. This is the sector which is a slow sector. You need a large amount of capital. Innovation is quite uncertain because innovation is a product which is required on the market. Public-private collaboration. I've always worked in the public sector throughout my life in the health sector. I've always worked in the public sector. Collaboration was always positive, and it's indispensable for innovation, key factor for growth, so that innovation can reach where we want it to reach. And this collaboration has meant that industry has invested in the sector and prepared on the capacity of each company. We have engineering much to do with the way health professionals think, especially health professionals who are surgeons, who are engaged in surgery. It's quite interesting to see how a doctor works with an engineer in the operating room, trying to improve the product that he's using, whether it's your own product that whether they're placing a prosthesis on a patient. The conversations between them always revolve about how to improve it. They have a great deal of complicity. They really want to do things that are innovative, and that motivates us to continue in this business line in spite of its complexity. And as a small and how can a small medium size get involved in the sector? It's very difficult, whether it's a large company, a small medium sized company, or a startup, as is our case, and especially as in situations like the current one, which makes everything more difficult. You need to have knowledge of your capacities in order to develop in that sector. But not only uh, not only can is the company itself enough to develop new products by itself, but it's very necessary, or I at least think it's because my whole life I've collaborated with other institutions. You need to collaborate with other companies that have different areas of specialty like you do. We come from the mechanical automobile sector, so work with companies that and that do projects which alone we would not have been able to. It's not just the industrial part that needs a small and medium-sized uh, small size company have its mechanical or electronic capacities, but in that sector we also require knowledge about market studies. You need to evaluate intellectual property of this company, whether you can get a patent or not, whether the patent will protect the product enough so the product will not be copied shortly thereafter, or it can't be denounced as part of another patent. The certification of the product is quite strict process. You need to manufacture prototypes. That is obviously part of the capacities of the SME itself. But then we have to disseminate the product, uh, market it, and look for the best marketing strategy. We market directly in Spain and Europe, but through distributors. So what does a small, medium-sized company need to get out of the sector? Knowledge, willingness to coordinate and collaborate with companies with other capacities and capital is essential. Um, there are various public institutions here, like the Chamber of Commerce, that um, foment this entrepreneurship. And I hope that in this framework of unfortunate times we're going through with COVID, that foreign capital, with more than financing, but with um, uh, unconditioned support, will allow us to innovate more on the market, and thus we won't have to depend entirely on our own capital, because as a micro small company, we might have very scarce levels of capitalization. That would allow us to put a product out onto the market, and that will help us to invest in other products. I don't know if that's clear enough. That's what I want to say, more or less. You were very clear, and as we mentioned before, the Chamber of Commerce, as like other institutions, we are compiling all the other projects in order to be able to present that directly to the Commission, whether this is representing or the Governor of Catalonia or the state. If any of you who are listening might be interested in get in touch with me or with anybody in the Barcelona Chamber of Commerce, and we would be delighted to be able to um, uh, help you to get a sliver of these funds. Next week, we're going to have a seminar on this, as a matter of fact. And if you're interested, I can share the information to Maria. I just want to say that the Chamber of Commerce helps companies like ours at the outset to seek out the way to come up with an international protection plan for our product. And I would urge you to get in touch with Maria or anybody at the Chamber of Commerce, because they've helped us ever so much. Thank you so much. That was fantastic publicity. Thank you so much. One last question, Manin. We've talked about the sector here in Spain, in Catalonia, obviously. We've talking about Ibiza and how it can serve as a bridge to help out in this area with such great opportunities for the sector. I'm going to talk about four basic ideas that you would recommend to a company, because you know that we have Moroccan company, we have Algerian companies, Italian companies, French companies. What ideas, what tips could you give these participants who are listening to us today that might be of interest to enter this market here in Spain? What should a small, medium-sized company do to get involved in, say, a sector like this, electric sector? Well, the SME that wants to move into the automobile sector from wherever it's coming, the first thing you need to do is have a robust, simple, and excellent product. It has to be excellent. As Ventura said, you have to have zero defects. The product has to be good. Otherwise, it's very difficult to export it. If it's from the electronic sector, you're probably better off. If it's from the mechanical sector, it's probably uh, being supplied. Another important element is to diversify as much as possible in product, in clients, and in country. That will give you survival. So if I'm very small, how can I get involved in many countries? Once again, excuse me, Ventura, but I'm going to use your example. You are diversifying tremendously. It's very important to diversify inside the country, and also in terms of clients. If you just imagine if you had one client and one product, that would mean you're on the tightrope. If the client were to go bad or the product were to go bad, you'd be really in a difficult situation. What products can meet various needs in the same area? Evidently, obviously, if you sell food, it's not going to sell clothes, but it's important to concentrate on diversifying the product and on the customers who buy this product and diversify as much as possible and diversify in various countries. You have to study the possibilities where a product could be well accepted as a risk, I would say. Uh, uh, there is competition. You have to work a lot with benchmark and just throw yourself into the market above all. We take note of that, and we'll keep that in mind for the conclusion because these tips are quite valuable. Alberto, we've been talking about the future of um, renewable um, energy and what the role of sucrose. We've seen this development, how the sector has um, evolved with aid, and now it's reached prices times lower than they were originally within renewable energy. If you had to recommend a Tunisian company that wanted to enter the sector, of all of them, given the possible sources of aid, the licenses that are being put out, what area, biomass, uh, thermal energy, solar energy, which we consider adequate for a company that might come from the Euro-Mediterranean region? Well, that's an interesting question. It's not an easy to answer. So for, for example, let's take a look at the photovoltaic sector. You need to have prior knowledge of the subject. You need to understand what the current context is in Spain and understand how the market works here, how the issue of developing a product works. If here in Spain we have a major solar potential, wind, offshore wind is going to be substantial, but we don't have major sea power, maybe a little in Galicia and uh, the Cantabrian Sea. I would not the priority to energy from waves. That's the way to proceed a Tunisian company or a company from other countries must be aware of the situation nationally and what the context is. If the opportunities are there, what is the risk? Because the Spanish sector in energy is quite an interesting, um, attractive one, but right now we're in a waiting mode. This might be a rather mm, delicate area, but up until June, there were tremendous speculative risks. Large companies were taking on substation capacity, and then they would sell it to someone who had an idea for a project. This after it was approved on June 23rd, there is now a moratorium on new projects, and we're waiting for a new set of standards to be approved. It seems like we can't find the right midpoint. Yeah, let's see if with the new standards, the new regulations, if the government is going to hold renewable energy auctions every year. Let's see if we, between those two extremes, we find a way of moving forward. So the energy sector in our country will be uh, stable, so that investments in other companies will reflect. It's very important for there not to be instability in the a company that might want to come to Spain might go to or or there they might find a more favorable regulatory environment. Oh, that's my opinion for what it's worth. I think they put out 40,000 megawatts as part of that auction. At least that's the intention. But it's true that a more stable regulatory framework would be helpful. Lourdes, you know that we're aware of your diversification process. You know the difficulties of the sector. Do you think that could be a way for a Turkish company? We know we have Turkish friends who might be work want to work in that technology. Could they get in touch with someone here on the market? That's a an additional channel for marketing, or would they have to come here, set up, look for a distributor? Could a company get in touch with Ventura to say, why don't you get me integrated into this product so that I can contribute our portfolio to the sectors you're working with? Hello, Pilar. That should be the way you go. Because for us, when we go to countries, the most important thing is to be familiar with the country. Because even if this is the medical sector, more or less are the same as in every country has its own culture. And in medical specialty, the culture of a surgeon might be different from that of a different type of doctor working with a different specialty. If you come in from the outside, it's good to contact a local company to uh, propose a type of collaboration to develop your own product. So this product of your own in collaboration with this local company can be improved or even in order to distribute it together through this local company. There are various formulas to enter a company. I'm saying that because that was our own experience. We are present, for example, in the United States and trying to develop a product with a U.S. company, and they, with their affiliate in Spain, give us their um, knowledge of the product, and we have the knowledge of the part of the sector. As a summary, the idea is that yes, it's good for them to protect local companies, also in terms of Spain, most organizations where various companies that work on like meet each other out and brought to look for projects abroad or to look for financing. So I think it must be collaboration with local companies. We always be open and we will look for this type of cooperation with companies to diversify our. My question is this. My answer would be this is a potential. Very thank you so much. Before we close, I would like to introduce you to Pat. Pat Navarro is the director of. She works in the Barcelona Trade Fair Association. Um, she's director of Barcelona Industry Week, and I would like her to give us four general ideas for all of our listeners, both here and other areas of the Euro Mediterranean in Barcelona Virtual Industry Week, which we're planning for next year. We've just, as we conclude this edition, let us take this opportunity to take advantage of your presence to discuss these areas. Thank you, all of you, for being here. I, I want to congratulate you, speakers. We have, unfortunately, we're limited by the pandemic. My colleagues mentioned this. You have your company, your product, and your in our interaction platform. Multiple, so we can achieve this complement in our platforms. We do direct benchmarking because we need to have a market where you can learn from different sectors. These, that's what our industrial platforms in the Barcelona trade sector offer. That's what we want. We want business to be generated. We want knowledge to be generated through two-way street national and we have strategic partners who help us highlight the point of science on the market with great interest. We count on the collaboration of the Economic and the Chamber of Commerce to be involved in two facets. We get involved in all sorts of crazy initiatives to be pioneers. We want to bring new knowledge and new business opportunities in the new sector. We work with them to open up the Mediterranean arc to all the different players in the sector. So for us, it is vital for us to be to work together to transform this ecosystem, which is competitiveness. And in that competitive environment, we need small size, medium size, and large size companies. This morning, we had the opportunity another day where the Undersecretary of Industry said that there would be direct aid to large companies, direct um, subsidies for viable projects. We have a lot project. And we have a lot of industrialists. If we're united, we'll be invincible. It's a pleasure to invite you to all the fora we will hold jointly. Knowledge has no it is, and we'll keep you notified over time through the Chamber of Commerce, through us, so you can be present and so you can take the pulse of the market. A an interactive platform is incomplete, but the client is the king. The client decides. I've tried to give you a brief overview. I think the five factors you mentioned uh, would make that formula for success become interaction, and that will allow you to be disruptive. And now you have to be disruptive in order to be present on the wrong chamber. And just said, we're going to try to be very disruptive to be able to generate value and allow for that transfer of technology. Very much for conclusion. I could spend the whole day talking with you, and we will have the opportunity to be able to uh, make concrete certain new projects. But at the Chamber of Commerce, we just concluded a project of factorial diversification. We do this every year along with our collaborators from Factorial. It's a project we accompany companies from traditional sectors who wish to enter into sectors like the ones you're present in, like energy, uh, electric mobility, and medical technology. Uh, participate. We plan on repeating this next year. We'll have the seventh edition. I thought it was important, and as Peter mentioned, we try to make our small contribution in terms of introducing something which is this disruptive in terms of the market we are long with went to. Thank you. Collaboration. We're hopeful to stay in touch. And once again, thank you so much.